I'm a believer in paranormal. I saw a child, a ghost when I was 6 years old in my house. So I've always had a belief in this stuff.
I always kind of believed in spirits and ghosts, because I believed I saw a ghost when I was very young. When I was living in Swansea, I believed that I saw a ghost.
I'll tell you why any doubt, not any doubt, but why a lot of the doubt has been quashed in my mind, and that's because where I lived before we lived in this house in the New Forest, we lived in a very old farm cottage, and there was undoubtedly poltergeist activity in this house. Undoubtedly. There was a bad feeling in certain rooms, strange odours, quite often mirrors would be smashed, rooms would be turned upside down, beds flipped right over, all sorts of strange things, and it went on for some time until we literally had had enough and the vicar had to come. And my father said to me, it's probably best you keep out of the way while the vicar goes in, and he went in, the vicar, and he spent a good hour in the house. And while we were in the house, my father drew my attention to the building, and at one end there was a disused fireplace, bricked up, a big Inglenook fireplace, but before we'd even got there it had long been bricked up, and we often said what a shame that that was no longer in use and covered up. And as we stood there, father and I, and the vicar was doing his thing inside with his holy water and what have you, smoke started to come out of that disused chimney in a perfect straight white line. I can see it now, straight up into the sky, and as if there was a fire burning happily in there, and it was like it for 20 minutes till the vicar came out. That is true. And ever since, I've decided to open my mind up a little bit.
We kind of wanted to test it to see if it was really true and if somebody was not just steering it around and manipulating it like Ian Weatherall. So we put the board out, we had everybody surrounded around it, everybody had a finger on it, and one boy, I remember, stood above the board looking down at it from a standing position while everybody was sat. Everybody was made to turn their heads and face away from the board, so nobody could see the board. They were facing their heads completely the opposite direction. And the one chap standing over it was not connected to the board, just watching it. And we asked the spirit a question. And as we asked it, it started moving and spelling out the answer. And he would spell it for us. And it was writing cohesive sentences without anybody looking at the board. And at that point, I think we all realized that this wasn't us. This wasn't manipulation. This wasn't, Ian having a laugh with us. And I remember that being pretty scary.
I seem to remember, I might be completely wrong, that it spelt out T. Bowen or Tim Bowen, who was my uncle, and I remember being quite shocked at that and quite surprised and taken aback.
So you believed it?
Well, how would I have done that otherwise? And who would have known about that guy in the... I mean, it was definitely for real. Definitely for real. We definitely contacted a spirit that day. It's something I wouldn't do again, but it's one of those things you try, maybe you want to try once. I certainly believe in trying things once, most things.
It was a scary place at a scary school, or could be a scary school, and he was, probably showing off a little bit to some fourth formers.
Unless Ian was, such a, so imaginative and he could just think on his feet, and a lot of people were, but we were just stunned. And I remember looking around the faces, and everyone was so engrossed in it, including Ian, because it was his brainchild, and he wouldn't have got anything from it by just making stuff up, because he was fascinated, and he was the one that was driving it the whole time, week after week, day after day.
Week after week?
Well, I think it lasted for about a month or so, a month and a half until it petered out.
Yeah.
But it was a real amazing chapter in our lives.
The test with everybody looking away and it's still spelling correctly. I myself personally am a believer, and I think it opened up a lot of people's eyes. Can it be proven? Is another tough call. There's not the beginning and the end. On these paranormal shows, they want to test and see the beginning of an action and the end to be recorded for a parapsychologist to verify that. Yeah. Is it justifiable like that? You can claim somebody was pushing, but in my mind, I believe it was true.
So it wasn't Ian Weatherall that did it?
I think I'd like to think not. I'd like to think not now. It would be a shame, wouldn't it, if it was a farce? Don't you think?
From what I gather, or what I can absorb from your questioning and your general angles, is they were genuinely scared, and I hope that didn't have a lasting impact. And that they kind of just left it behind and moved on. Alex Bovine, he was a German exchange student, and he came over, and one time the Ouija board wasn't making any sense, and he was sitting in the corner as pale as you like, and apparently the spirit had followed him over in the aeroplane. So we asked it what was he reading, or a book that he was reading on the aeroplane, and it spelled something out, and it came up with all this sort of nonsense. And he was pretty convinced and terrified. He didn't want anything to do with it after that. He just walked away. He was very scared.
The reason why it stopped, I guess, it was we were onto something else, or we were tired, or we were going out to see the Sunny Hill Girls. Perhaps that was the next succession.
Yeah.
We were going down to meet up with the.
Desperate to lose our virginities.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the dormitory just got scared, and there was a collective decision to stop the process. I think
we took it out and we burnt the actual writing on there to get rid of it, because it was getting dangerous and moving very fast when we were using it, and more spirits were getting on the board, and I think we all felt we might open a portal to something we couldn't close.
You weren't making this up.
no, I wasn't pushing the thing or dragging it around. I mean, we all took turns to step away from the board, and then ask questions, and then see if it would continue, and it did. So if you're asking me if I was involved in trying to create a fast, no, certainly not. No. Had I been the ringmaster, I'd be happy to admit it, and that would probably ease off some of the fears for many years of what you're describing from some of the other guys that experienced this, and maybe that would help them.
I think if I was going to be anything, I'd be a druid, because to worship false idols makes more sense than anything else, doesn't it? On a day like today, you can look up and see the sun. What's wrong with worshipping the sun? You can feel the wind on your face. What's wrong with worshipping the wind? You can light a fire. You can see the force of the fire. Why not worship the fire?
It was a shame that you left age 16.
It was. I wasn't happy about that. I wish I'd stayed on.
Yeah.
Hey, that's life.
The Ouija board was perhaps exactly what we needed at that time, even though it only lasted for a month and a bit, but it was something that was like almost something to look forward to. It was, and yeah, I wanted to believe, I think. Is that very X-Files?
I actually, on my 20th birthday, had a big cake party at my house, and I got really drunk until it was like 5 in the morning, and I remember like 5 in the morning drinking, and my wife, my girlfriend, then was sitting there, and I just like burst out crying, and I still had those feelings that I really just realized at that point I was never going to see all the guys from Old House again, and never get to finish my time. And I had dreams about it, and it hung with me for a very long time. I really had a lot of regret, and I felt like I missed out on that last year, and I felt robbed, and I was really angry about it for a long time.
If 6 people are around the board, and those 6 people believe what is happening is unique, then to those 6 people, at least it is real. And to anybody else, it doesn't matter, does it?
There are spirits out there. The spirits are alive in their own way, aren't they? So, and that proved it to me actually, that Ouija board. That, I think, confirmed my theory that there are spirits out there, and that our spirits carry on after our bodies die.